For our study this week, we are going to look at a passage from Matthew's Gospel. It's the familiar story of Jesus walking on the water, and it's found in Matthew chapter 14. Immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back into the boat and cross to the other side of the lake while he sent the people home. After sending them home, Jesus went into the hills by himself to pray. Night fell while he was there alone. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from land, for a strong wind had risen and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. In their fear, they cried out, "It's a ghost!" But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage. I am here." Then Peter called to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." "Yes, come," Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sink. "Save me, Lord," he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith," Jesus said. "Why did you doubt me?" When they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. The disciples worshipped him. "You really are the Son of God," they exclaimed. I want to start by asking a question. Have you ever started something and soon found yourself in a mess or a storm? When I think about how I might answer that question, several incidences of starting a project in the garden or some DIY in the house spring to mind, and that awful moment when I realised that it really was a much bigger job than I'd first anticipated. Or rather more seriously, I remember setting out on a walk up to the top of Goat Fell on the Isle of Arran in early January, in what seemed good weather conditions for a walk, only to be caught in a winter storm near the top and finding myself in rather a desperate mess. But what if that something we started, then found to be overwhelming, was something we felt called by God to do? Something we felt that God was asking of us, but now we found ourselves in a mess. The disciples were caught in a storm, and it was Jesus who'd sent them off in the boat. While few of us will have ever witnessed or even been in a huge storm on a lake, the experience of feeling that something we are doing is right, a God-given task if you like, but finding it much harder than we had imagined, will be familiar to many. When we encounter problems, storms, it can lead us to doubt. Surely this would be plain sailing if it's what God wants. Perhaps it isn't right after all. It can lead to fear, which in turn can paralyze us. We stop doing things because we're afraid of what might happen. Or maybe we start to blame ourselves. We think we are not right for this task, or we have some weakness that is what has caused the storm, our own fault if you like. We think we simply may not be up to the task. Or worse still, we imagine that we lack faith to complete the job. If we stop to think, this simply is not true. Storms in life are not caused by a lack of faith. But as we heard in the story, what a lack of faith can do is stop us from recognizing Jesus when he is in the situation with us. Maybe he's there through the presence of a friend or a family member or a colleague. In the end, what matters is not our courage or our skill. What matters is remembering that Jesus may send us into stormy waters, but that he is always present and can reach us and find us there. Our study today will allow us to think about occasions when things haven't gone so well for us, and how we can look to God to uphold us and see us through those difficult times.